Welcome, everyone. My name is Whitney Ziegler. I'm the founder and CEO of Big Rocks Organizing. We are a professional organizing and move management company based out of Portland, Oregon. We are women-owned and LGBTQIA-owned and certified. And tonight, thank you for joining us. This is our Ask the Organizer monthly series. And this year in 2025, we are organizing room by room. For June, we're focusing on the kitchen and pantry. And I'm pleased to introduce Jess Cavanis, our operations manager, and Maddie Salen, who is an assistant professional organizer and a wonderful human being. Both of them are, as is everyone on our team. I might be biased. But Maddie, thank you so much for inviting us into your home tonight. So Maddie and Jess are going to give us a tour of his kitchen and talk about the tips and tricks and methods behind what he's used to organize his kitchen. And we would love to hear your questions too, because obviously your kitchens are going to be different. Your challenges might be different. You might need resources. So we're here to help. This is supposed to be interactive and fun. So feel free to drop questions in the chat or raise your hand at any time. Maddie, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to you.
Thank you, Whitney. I'm happy to have you all in my kitchen today. I cleaned up just for you. And I have a few things that I'd love to point out that have been really helpful for me to stay organized in the kitchen, which is the busiest room in the house. It's not perfect, but I think it's pretty workable. So we actually have this is a very inefficiently sized kitchen. Because there's this whole pathway to go to the outside. So most of the kitchen is just pathway. So this horseshoe is pretty much what we got. But I think I've done a good job of making the most of it. So I would love to show you a couple of things in my drawers of how I've organized. So first of all, I got the biggest cutlery organizer I could find. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 sections. And because I had big forks and little forks and big spoons and small spoons. And then there's the everything section, which has like the iced tea spoon and a ramen fork and a basting brush thing. But this would kind of always shift back and forth every time I opened up the drawer. So I stuck a bunch of these, what do you call these? Spacers behind there. I wedged them behind there so it never moves anymore and it's a lot less irritating. So that's how I do my cutlery. And down here, there's this, to organize Tupperware or food storage containers, 2 things. First of all, I really try to hew to only one brand so that everything fits together. We just went for Rubbermaid. I'm not saying it's better than anybody else, but then we discovered that what we really love to use for leftovers is these Ziploc. Are they quarts? It's just like a quart. These Ziploc quart containers. They're just so practical and they don't take up much. They have a very small footprint in the refrigerator. So we bridged out to Ziploc. And then we kept buying all this luncheon meat by Hillshire Farms, which comes in these reusable containers. And so rather than throw them away, we decided to hang on to them. And now we have 1,000. And so we have 3 brands. But
perfect sandwich size.
Well, it's a perfect sandwich size. Brought my lunch today.
Good stuff.
But what has really made the difference in organizing all these different tops and bottoms is to have one drawer for the top and one drawer for the bottom. And the drawer for the tops is on top and the drawer for the bottoms is on the bottom. And the way I've organized it is I've used this pegboard from IKEA. So you can see I've got these pegs that keep all the lids in place and these different lids. And then for these teeny tiny little lids for Rubbermaid, I just put this big Kirkland mixed nuts container in here. And that keeps all the lids together for that. And I also have Ziploc bags back here. And then down below, I've again used the pegboard to keep in place all these size, these size, these size, and these size containers. Again, keep everything from moving around. So that works out really, really well for us.
Nice.
Moving
Thanks,
on.
Patty. I'm curious. So a lot of our clients store their food storage containers in a cupboard. Do you advocate for a drawer rather than a cupboard? And why?
I think drawers are better than cupboards in every possible scenario. However, we can't all redo our kitchens. I have a lot of cupboards myself.
Let me jump in. So I do not have a lot of cupboards myself, and I have a lot of glass Tupperware, and I don't have a lot of drawers either. I have a very small kitchen, but I like to cook, so I have all of the things. I have my Tupperware in a cabinet, but I have it organized by shape. So the containers, like the rectangles, the squares, the circles. And then I have an expandable lid organizer. So those work well in a cabinet if you don't have a drawer available for your lids. And they come with little labels like small, medium, large. I think they give you shape ones as well. So they're just nice and neat in the cabinet. I would prefer the drawer as well, but we don't all have that option.
No. My friend just redid her entire kitchen and all she has is drawers, like lower drawers that pull out. That is the way. But if you don't have that, then I think Justice Solutions make a lot of sense. Another thing that I just love is this spoon rest. I love this spoon rest. It's made by Tomorrow's Kitchen. I think I got it at the Container Store, but I bought two. And there's always one there because you always have dirty spoons or forks or something, and it's always there on the griddle to receive a dirty spoon or a fork. But then, as soon as it's dirty, we have a backup that we put there. So that's why we bought two. Let's see. We have an on-counter knife holder, which nicely also holds all the a series of 8 steak knives in it. It'd be great if this. In our last place, we had a magnet knife holder, which was really great and saved space. But this is all tile, and I didn't really want to drill into tile because that just feels scary. So it's on the counter. Uh, this I'm actually really proud of. I've talked to you folks about this before. So I used to use paper towels all the time, over and over again. And then I read this annual report by Bounty, which was talking about how they cut down a 63-year-old tree to make paper towels, and was really horrified. And so I took a bunch of old T-shirts and cut them up. And now I have a lot. I have a lot, way more than these, but I put them in this other food storage container, and I put it right underneath where the paper towel would be. So when I normally reach for the paper towel, I think, oh, I could instead just get one of these. So that's my little way of being nice to you. But this being wall mounted is nice because it does save space as far as the counter. Another thing I would like to point out up here, these are nothing terribly interesting about keeping utensils in cups, but I started counting my calories and weighing my food. And so I got this very nice looking food scale from IKEA. And instead of leaving it on the ground, I have it on the stand. So again, it has a little footprint. And then I use this ramekin put it on to weigh it. And I just zero it out there. And that way I am in control of my calories. There. This is my coffee station. So I have an espresso that I love and I use all the time. And we have a lot of different pods for it. These are all decaf pods, espresso and coffee. And then these are caffeinated pods, espresso and coffee. So that's how I keep that organized. Another thing you might notice back here is I have these side plug outlet extenders. Maybe that's what they're called. And it's really nice having the outlets come out to the side because then they don't poke out and take up airspace above your counter. So I have like 3 plugs here and 2 plugs here. And so that's a nice way for me to organize the power situation over here.
As a side note as well, I don't know if all of them have it, but a lot of the pod machines have reusable pods available. So you can just put your own coffee in it and wash it and use it over and over and over again.
Didn't know that. Mine are aluminum, and recycle them religiously. Uh, so I'm one step below that. All right. I would like to point out the kind of cooking cabinet. So up here, it's a bunch of oils and vinegars and things like that. But down here, everybody has a lot of spices. Everybody has more spices than they probably need. And my solution was to use twin double decker uh, um, spice lazy Susan. So this one is all for savory spices. And then this is for all kind of the other spices, which a lot of them end up being a little bit. I put the sweet ones over here, like cinnamon sugar and ginger and lemon extracts and cloves and things like that. So that's the spice organization.
I love that. There's no wrong way to organize spices, whether it's alphabetized or savory sweet. Thank you.
I'm an alphabetizer personally.
Oh, over here around the sink, um, my husband loves the Scrub Daddy, and I prefer whatever this is called, just a conventional sponge. So to make room for them, I got these. See how it's dripping? These OXO sponge keeper holder thingers. Ugh. And that way they're both at the ready and they drain the liquid, the water and soap drains into these things, and then you drain those later on, but that way it keeps it under control. I also have this extra one for the occasional use of the steel wool. Let's see, moving on over here. Oh, okay. So pot rack. This is actually here when we got the house, but it's been very helpful to keep all the pots up here. And I thought I'd add this this produce holder to the pot rack. And sometimes I was banging my head on these. So it took a minute for me to figure out where the pot should be so I don't bang my head. And I don't bang my head anymore. So it's worked out well.
Nice. I have a
Also,
fruit holder attached to my pot rack as well.
you have a fruit holder. Got it.
Yeah, it's very handy.
Oh, can you get over here? This, you may wonder what the heck this is. This is a drying rack for Ziploc bags, for cleaning plastic bags. And we use these reusable kind of Ziploc bags. I don't know what the brand is. I just got them off of Amazon, but that way we're not adding more plastic to the earth and we air them out there.
I have a different style. Mine is because I have such a small kitchen. Mine is about yay big, but it has lots for, I want to say like 6 reusable bags to dry. So big proponent of the silicone Ziploc bags.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maddie and Jess, we had a question in the chat from Jean Harkin, who needs to organize her spices. Where can she find those lazy Susans? Do they come in various circumferences? She has a small cabinet space for spices.
These are made by OXO, which makes great kitchen products. And I got them at the Container Store. They have for the double decker. Um, they, I got, this is the size for the double decker, but OXO also makes a single one that's wider.
I have a double decker that is actually almost twice the size of that too. So I would say if you looked around at different stores, you could probably find any configuration you want. Like mine is pretty big. I have an obscene amount of spices. I have them in magnetic racks on my fridge because I can't fit them all in the 2 cabinets that they take in my kitchen. So yeah, they do. They come in double decker, single decker. I have one on my counter that has like my most frequently used oils and vinegars, my sea salt, things like that. And then it's got the utensil holder, the cooking utensil holder in the middle. So that's a good space saver for me. So I don't have to have I don't have the space that you have counter wise. So that is combined with my everyday cooking spices.
Yeah, I mean, anywhere you can use a lazy Susan, use a lazy Susan. They are such a great invention.
Agree.
They are, and Gwen said in the chat that there are quite a few options available on Amazon for Lazy Susan. So thank you both for sharing your. Does anyone else have a question about spices? I know those can be tricky to store. Okay, we have a Home Goods also has options and materials and sizes. Thank you, Leilani.
Also, make sure that when you are buying your Lazy Susans, you check the depth of your cabinets. Because when I moved into my current place, the biggest one I had was way too wide for the cabinet. And for that cabinet, I wound up getting like the risers, the steps that you put in the cabinet. So I have like 4 levels of spices in
Thank
one
you, Maddie.
cabinet. Darn. And then I have above the stove like my bulk spices. So in that not so convenient cabinet, I keep all of like the big thing of salt and peppercorns that I use to refill. But then I have a combination of Lazy Susans and the risers. It just kind of depends what works best in your cabinet. So if you do get Lazy Susans, make sure you check your measurement.
Definitely. So they do have risers for spices too. I
Yeah,
didn't
they
know
look
that.
like little steps.
Yeah, I used to have that.
Hey,
Those are
that was
good.
good. Yeah. Great. Thank you. Thank you for those ideas.
I
You got
noticed
it.
that you two are dancing around each other in this kitchen. For those of us who have smaller kitchens and there might not be prep space for 2 people to work, I guess, do you have any tips for how to share a small space or maximize it for prep?
If you are like the way that I think all kitchens should be is there should be at least a food prep area versus a cleanup area. And so food prep includes everything that you probably think of, especially the range, things like spices and oil and cutting boards and all that, and access to the refrigerator. And cleanup would be sink and dishwasher, and then whatever cabinet you're keeping the silverware, cabinets and drawers you're keeping the silverware and the dishes and glassware in. Unfortunately, in my kitchen, it's all crammed in the same place, and so there's not much that can be done about that. But maybe if it's just a good thing to consider at least those 2 zones for especially kitchen where there's 2 people operating.
Yeah, my kitchen is incredibly small, and when there are 2 of us in there, it's tight, and I don't even think that I have a solution. It's so small. So sometimes you just have to be comfortable getting cozy with the person you're in the kitchen with.
Yeah. My husband frequently says, "Get out of my kitchen." But I added all these clever little lazy Susans and things that organize it. Okay, another thing that I'm actually really proud of is my solution for Instant Pot. So the Instant Pot takes up a lot of space in a lot of people's kitchen, has a big footprint. We have this dead zone over here, this corner that is like it's sandwiched between the wall and the refrigerator, and it's just a dead zone. And so I got this really neat rolling tray. It makes a squeak, but you can see, oh, well, I guess that's it's it's it rolls back and forth like this. And so we just put the Instant Pot on it and it rolls out of sight. Oh my gosh, I made it angry. It rolls out of sight when we're not using it, but then it rolls back into place when we are using it. Okay, another thing I'd love to point out is below the sink. Well, first of all, I like using one instead of having I'm lucky enough to have a soap dispenser in my sink that was here when we got the house. But I don't like having extra soap. I just want there to be one solution for soap, whether it's for washing your hands or for washing your dishes. So I use this, but but the soap dispenser used to run out. And so I got this special tube that goes all the way down here uh, to can you see that? To a big refill size thing of 7th generation free and clear dishwashing liquid. And the tube has it's like capped here, and then it has little stopper thingies along there so that it doesn't all drain out like it's always ready to go is what I mean to say. So
So clever,
that's
Maddie.
good. Sorry, what's
I
that?
said that's so clever.
Yeah, I'm really pleased. And then I have another lazy Susan, because you know I love lazy Susans. So this here is just for dishwasher, dish dryer, and spray cleaner, and Lysol wipe. And then when we have oil that we don't want to pour down the drain, we use this 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 is for a laundry detergent. And once we used up all the laundry detergent, now we have it, and it just got all this oil that I guess we'll deal with one day. I'm not quite sure what to do with it, but we're only down here. We really haven't used very much of it. And then we put cans here for recycling. We actually we bundle up all the cans, and then we donate it to a local nonprofit so that they can reap the rewards from the can redemption. I don't know if I want to show. Oh yeah, another thing I would love to show. Oh wait, I didn't show this. Okay, did I show? I didn't show the pots. Did I?
No.
Okay, this I just did today, but there was always a clutter of pots and oh, I should light it up. Clutter of pots and lids down here, and I just got this kind of this little what do you call it? Riser from IKEA. And now I don't even need to have a lid holder because I can just put the lids right on top of the pots and the pans. And there's room for, what is this, 4 pots. So that's been really nice. And lids also take up a lot of space. And this was just in the house when we got it. And luckily the clearance is so perfect that, well, it's not made a sound, but usually, but there it didn't make a sound. The clearance is such that the sieve won't move. Oh, and I also wanted to point out, I have this collapsible step stool that I think is a very popular design. A lot of people have, but I love having it right here because then I can reach up and get this gigantic salad bowl. Look how big this salad bowl is. It's huge. It's great for parties, salad parties, I suppose, but you don't want to have it taking up space. So,
And I don't have an inch of cabinet space for my stool, so mine is tucked between my fridge and the cabinet,
okay.
but
Oh,
the same one.
speaking of tucked between fridge and cabinets, we don't have a broom closet in this kitchen, which is very annoying. And so I I need both the Swiffer and a broom, and I just nudged the refrigerator over so that it fits between the refrigerator and the wall. Just what else could I do with it?
Mhm.
That works out well. And then, oh, what was I going to point out? I point out the leaf, Susan. I point out the, oh, over here, another big bulky thing that I need to make room for is these bowls are bulky, but we love them and we use them all the time. The salad spinner is bulky, but we love it and we use it all the time. Colanders are bulky, but we love it and we use it all the time. So our solution was I got another one of these risers from IKEA, and it's got enough space for the salad spinner down below, enough space for the nested bowls on top, and our colander is collapsible.
So is mine. I have the same one.
There we go. What brand is it?
I think that's OXO as well, or mine is at
Oh, this
least.
one is Squish. Who's ever heard of Squish? But sure. I think that a lot of people have figured out the utility of a collapsible colander. So that goes there.
I have one in my travel trailer and it's helpful.
Nice.
And I think, oh, the last thing I think that's really useful. This is our looking inside our refrigerator, which feels very private, but we have a can dispenser. I think my husband loves drinking sodas out of cans. I never do, but they take a lot of space, and so we have this double-decker one, and I think that's really, I need to position it so that it's nested and it won't push there. So that way it's just another, oh, and for those of you who consume bacon, this is a little bacon grease keeper. You open it up and you pour your bacon grease in there if you want to use it for something else. And that way you have your bacon grease.
Yeah, and I'm a big condiment person, and like I said, I cook a lot. I love food. I love to eat. I love to cook. I love to entertain. So I have clear bins in my fridge as well to kind of keep things sectioned off because it gets messy in 5 seconds otherwise. So I have like one bin that holds the cheeses and things, and one bin that holds, like olives and pickled things. And I have them in the freezer as well because I have no shelf in my freezer. So I get the bins and then everything kind of has its own little section.
A few last things I can point out. This is my shelf in the kitchen. So you heard how earlier my husband calls the kitchen his kitchen and repeatedly asked me to get out of it. Well, I really wanted an air fryer. I wanted a panini machine, and I wanted a carbonator. And so this is my shelf. For the air fryer, I found that I always need to have tongs and a pot holder to access them. So I put this hook in right here so that instead of going all the way across the kitchen to where the tongs normally would be, which is on the counter, or where the pot holder normally would be, which is over the sink, I would have an extra one here just for that. So it's dedicated to the air fryer.
I do have one other quick space saving thing. So I also love having an air fryer and I also love my Instant Pot. I found a Ninja, which is all in one. It's a pressure cooker, yogurt maker, bread baker, air fryer, double decker cooker. You can like steam and broil in it all at the same time. So it's like one machine with all the functions when you don't have the luxury of having multiple appliances.
And another thing about these new fangled appliances is they have, like Jess says, so many options. So when I got the air fryer, I laminated this card that it came with,
Of course you did.
which has like the air fryer guide and the rack positions and the way everything's supposed to be. I've already figured it out, so I don't need this anymore, but it was really nice those first few months. And then, oh, down over here, we were talking before about the Nespresso machine. So this is Nespresso's this is where you put the used pods in here. And this thing only costs $20 and it's from Nespresso. I don't know why they charge so little for it, but I was very pleased. And this is heavy. It's pretty much ready to be recycled. But that way I don't have to trudge into the basement every time I empty my Nespresso machine from its pods. Oh, right. Pantry. Okay, so over here,
Wait, Maddie, maybe we'll take a pause really quick before you dive into pantry. We have a note from Joanne in the chat. She has a battery light that she sticks on the inside of a dark cupboard, and it's an easy on-off switch. I noticed you had your flashlight attached to the wall, so does it recharge there?
Oh my gosh, I love this flashlight so much. I have it. This is a 3-story house. Well, it's a normal house with an attic and a basement, so it's 3 stories worth. And I have one of these plug-in rechargeable flashlights on each floor. And it's so nice always having it powered and you just reach for it and it's ready to go. So
But you
yes,
also have those lights in your bedroom with the sensors that you could put in your cabinet too, right?
I do. And I also have the light up motion detector light up puck that I put underneath all the beds. So when you get out of bed in the middle of the night, it lights up the floor and you don't stub your toe.
Genius.
Oh,
Nice.
along the same lines, I put a night light here, a light detecting night light down here. For some reason, there's an outlet down there. And we have a guest frequently. And so because it's light detecting, it only turns on at night. And then when our guests stumble in the kitchen for a glass of water in the middle of the night, they don't stub their toe.
Nice.
Great for safety. I'm wondering if anybody has questions about kitchens before we move on to pantry. We can always go back and you just open-ended questions too. And are those cookbooks is that your left or your right?
Yes, it looks like a very a really tall stack of cookbooks. And it is a tall stack of cookbooks, but there are actually these metal slats in between. Where can I find one? There's metal slats in here, so they're not all precariously balanced. So you can push it and it won't fall.
Yeah, if you could see the floor, it's on a stand, a metal stand there.
But it is great because we love cookbooks and we love going through them. We always buy new ones, and it's fun just having this stack here for this normally an unused space between two doorways. Oh, and this is my very own cookbook, which is just a large clear vinyl binder, and I organized it into sections for appetizers, main dishes, soup, sides, and desserts. And these are all recipes that I found that or took out of the newspaper, and I put them in these clear sleeves. And so these are all things that I want to make one day. And if I'm trying to figure out what to make and I don't want to look at a cookbook, I know that I have all these saved. Look how thick this is.
Nice. We had a question in the chat. Peggy's wondering, where do you keep your garbage?
Okay, we have a full system for garbage. So glad you asked. This is our Simple Human garbage can, and it was designed to have this smaller channel be for recycling and this larger channel to be for trash or landfill. But we recycle so much because we're so good that we switched them around. See, I labeled this one recycling, this one landfill, and so that's how we do that. And I keep the roll of garbage bags in the bottom below there, so that like underneath the garbage bag. If I took out the garbage bag, there's a roll underneath there so that it's very easy for me to replace it. And then I told you about the cans, which go here. Then for things that are for glass recycling, which we do in Portland, and also for anything in plastic recycling that Multnomah County doesn't do, but that we do for Ridwell or for James Recycling. I got this little bucket here from IKEA, and so that way we can recycle soft plastic and number one plastic and more soft plastic and things that are too small for Multnomah County to recycle. And so when this gets full, I just take it out to the garage where I have a very serious recycling space.
And I'm sure that nobody is surprised based on all of the things he has shown you in his kitchen.
That is true. We have a question, and we'll get to the recycling in the garage. That'll be a separate Ask the Organizer event. We have a request. Can you demonstrate pulling out a cookbook from the middle of the stack just to show that it's not like performing a magic trick?
Sure. All right. How about barefoot and Contessa family style? So I want to pull it out. It is in stack of like, I think the stack begins here and ends here. And so I do have to push that back. But here we go. It's not, I mean, I think that there's a little slat right there. You can see it. So I guess the least convenient would be of the Ina Garden Barefoot Contessa's would be, well, I guess the first one, Barefoot Contessa Cookbook, because all these are on top of it. But I just push it back and there we go.
Nice. Thank you. Does anybody else have a question for Maddie or Jess at the moment? All right. Well, we'd love to see your pantry.
Okay. I told myself I was going to put real labels on this, but I forgot until right now. So I am just using Post-its, but I got these clear organizers for all of our biggest section of food that we make.
And those are, by the way, almost identical to what I have in the fridge. And then the taller ones are what I have in my freezer. So you can use these bins for multi-purposes throughout the house.
Yeah, I got them from Depot. And so we happen to have a lot of crackers. So we have a crackers one that's tall because cracker containers can be tall. You can see from this open thing of Triscuits. And we have a lot of tea. So this is our tea one. We have a lot of pasta. And then we eat a lot of Japanese food. And so we have a lot of, and we go to the Japanese market a lot. So we have two for Japanese. This big one for Japanese, and this one for like, what do you call these things?
What, the snacks or
No,
dry?
they like sleeves, plastic
Oh, yeah.
sleeves,
Pouches?
pouches, yeah. So those are for Japanese, and then this is just for fruit and nuts, like slivered almonds and pistachios and pitted dates. And so,
I have to limit myself to one Fubon trip per month because me in an Asian market, I would have filled your pantry in one shopping trip.
yeah, we go to Uwajimaya and go crazy for that. And this is, we love OXO products. It's actually kind of crowded in here, but we got this really gigantic container. Look how big this container is compared to my head. And because we make a lot of rice, and so we have this OXO pop top container for our rice. Oh, and I should show you my baking room. So, anyways, yes, that's a pantry and my homemade post-it note labels. Oh, wait,
They do.
down over here.
Wait, Maddie, sorry, before
Yeah.
you go there, I wondered if you and Jess could talk about a lot of our clients see on shows like the Home Edit or other organizing shows, people decanting items into clear containers. The food is organized in rainbow order, things like that. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't care. I also don't care about the rainbow order. What I decant for is anything that I want to keep fresh. And so for cereal or for crackers or for chips, those are things where someone will open up a bag and grab some and then maybe not close the bag entirely, which is my pet peeve. And like grabbing a cracker or a chip and or a cookie and having it be stale makes me so mad. I decant those things where crispiness is important um, into uh,
Yeah,
those sealed
like
containers.
breadcrumbs, things like that, things that you want airtight so that they don't go stale. That makes sense. I use mason jars just because I do. I always have. I have the top of my kitchen cabinets are completely full of different size mason jars.
Nice. And it also can keep out pests. I know some of our clients live in the country and mice
Yeah.
challenge to deal with. Yeah.
Oh, another thing where I decant is with the baking shelf because I find it very pleasing and it's easier to manipulate a hard
Block of
container
brown sugar.
of brown sugar rather than like a gushy bag of it. Let me show you. So over here, I went for the OXO whole baking section. So I think it all like this one is for powdered sugar and baking powder and baking soda and flour and sugar you can see back there
That is
and
a
brown
deep
sugar.
report.
Well, thank you. And then I'm also really pleased with this. I love making waffles, and the waffle iron has been banished to the basement, but I do bust it out, and it's one of the few things I know how to cook. And so to make making waffles really easy, I decanted Bisquick into this container, and then it's so simple to make it. I printed on the label all the things that I need to do. So this way I know how to make waffles in a pit. Smart. Oh, and another thing I did, which because I'm so bad at cooking and I don't really know what I'm doing in the kitchen, I did a similar thing um, ah for hard boiled eggs. So I love hard boiled eggs, especially for salads. And so I couldn't even remember the recipe for hard-boiled eggs. Maybe it's an ADD thing, but I put in this container holds the hard-boiled eggs, but then also I put instructions for how to make them using the Instant Pot on here. And I put this little line on here for where 1 cup of water is the mark for 1 cup of water. So when I make hard-boiled eggs, this is empty because I'm all out and I fill water up to here and I pour it into the Instant Pot and that's my little hard-boiled egg solution. Smart. Okay, this is less exciting, but you know all those bags you get from the grocery store that you don't know what to do with. We just made this the kind of drop set for all the bags. There's lots and lots of bags in here. That's where they go. And then I put my pool caddy in here because where else is it going to go? I don't know. I don't have a closet where it would go. So I put it in this lower pantry thing. It's actually cleaning caddy, but it's really great because it holds my drill and my hammer and my level and all those things. And I also have my Swiffer cloths in here, both wet and dry. And then I have I used to use these way too much, and my husband made me feel guilty for it. And so now I'm using my cut up t-shirt, but I have my extra, I call them white bees. I have an extra white bees back there.
And they do also make reusable wet and dry Swiffer pads, if anybody is interested in those.
Oh, one other thing is, weirdly, we have an outlet right here for, and we're using it to power our air fryer, our panini press, and our vacuum cleaner over here, again, because we don't have a broom closet. And instead of having plugs just come out here, which may look ugly, I got this amazing thing, which is just this slim profile outlet cover that plugs in here. And then it kind of, I don't know, it's just nice look.
I need to buy at least 3 of those immediately. Yeah, that is a link we should share at some point because that's awesome and I want them.
Yeah, I've got one in the guest room, one in the bathroom, one here. There's just times when you need power, but you don't want to have plugs coming out of the wall.
Nice. Well, we will put the link to that in the follow-up email for sure. Does anyone have questions about kitchen and pantry organizing for Maddie and Jess or for our team? Do you have certain challenges that you're facing that weren't addressed in the tour? And thank you, Maddie, so much for the tour of your kitchen and pantry. We have a question in the chat from Joanne. Do you have canned goods stored anywhere?
Yes, they were just a little bit around the corner here. So all these over here are canned goods and jars. Here, there. If you don't believe me, here's Green Giant whole kernel sweet corn. So they're just wedged over there.
Sometimes I've seen clients put them in like the soda holders that you have in your fridge, kind of like that.
Yeah, we just don't use them frequently enough to put them in those kind of holders.
Yeah, they also make bigger risers, like I was talking about for the spices that are deeper for cans, so that you can see them if you have them in a cabinet that's shallow. You just stack up and you can see the top of all the labels.
That's smart.
Nice. Sharon, you have a question?
Yes, I want to know, since my kitchen, my Barbie kitchen needs to be reorganized again, and Jesse, I don't think yours is smaller than mine. I want to know if Big Rocks loans out Maddie and Jesse. Do they go on the road with this idea?
Sharon, I will always help you, and my kitchen is half the size of yours. That is a fact. You feel bad for me now, right?
Yes, I do. Another Barbie kitchen.
Not even. It's like a Barbie baby's kitchen. Or Skipper kitchen.
Oh yeah, Skipper.
I was just going to say it's the Skipper kitchen. Does anyone else have questions? Or maybe you have a tricky kitchen and you need a solution.
Or maybe you have a tip that we didn't mention yet.
Yeah, or a resource. Okay, we have a question. What about trays, serving dishes, vases, etc.?
Okay, so vases go in. I have a china cabinet in the just off the dining room, and that's where vases go. And trays go in the cabinets, but I do have a little. I have this little section that let me show you next to the dishwasher for for trays and for cutting boards. For things that are both a tray and a cutting board, like this. And so we've got all these, and including what I just learned is called a pizza peel. This kind of thing.
Yeah, so they also make little racks that you can hang inside your cabinet door that will hold cutting boards if you have a door that's long enough for your cutting board. As far as like serving platters and things like that, for me, they go in the cabinet above the fridge just because that's the only place I could fit them.
Oh, and for roasting pans and things like that, a lot of ovens have a little tray underneath and we use it for that. So it also has our racks, drying racks.
Yeah. So I do the same. I have my baking pans and cookie sheets and stuff in the drawer. And then all of my cast iron pots and my big pots are inside the stove, just like a typical Italian. I have to empty the stove before I can use it.
Or my grandmother. We have a comment in the chat from Gwen who says pullouts and lower cabinets are great. She got several at the Container Store and another on Amazon. Question from Laura, what do people use for the tops of their cabinets besides giant salad bowl storage?
I have my mason jars up there. I also have a panini press like Maddie does. I have that in a fabric bin up there. I have infrequently use espresso pot, a smaller coffee pot, like French press type thing. Anything I don't use commonly, I put up there, and some of it's kind of pretty too, which is nice.
I've got a cookie jar that sometimes I need and a lot of times I don't need. I have a cake stand up there, and I have this absurdly large wine carafe. Let me show you how big it is. Look how big this thing is.
Wow.
It's gigantic. So yeah, where else is it going to go?
Awkward things and things you have no other place for, I guess is the answer.
Things you don't use very often.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had a question about where the Container Store is in our area, so we let her know it's in Bridgeport Village. We do, with Big Rocks Organizing as a trade partner, receive a 10% discount, and we're happy to pass that on to our clients. So if you decide that you want to purchase things through the Container Store, let us know, and we'll be happy to pass that on to you. Any other questions for Jess or Maddie? I know for me, I try to reuse what I already have. We all have so many bins and boxes and different things that can be cleverly repurposed.
Yeah, and I would say anybody who's ever worked with us knows that we do the same with our clients. We always do our best to use what's already in the house as opposed to asking people to buy a bunch of bins or different storage containers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love my favorite tea is this hot cinnamon tea made by Harney, and it comes in a really charming tin. And I just can't, I don't have the heart to throw it out. So I have a lot of those tins in the basement on a shelf that hold various things.
Screws, buttons, safety pin.
Notions.
Oh. I'd like to add that if you've been in your house for a very long time, sometimes it's good to just take some time out and reassess the things that are in your kitchen. Like, for instance, I no longer have full family at home to cook for, so I don't need those big pots. So I kind of went down to smaller sizes, and maybe that helps in our small kitchens to really use what you're going to need and not hang on to things just because you've always had them.
Yeah, true. And maybe you get to the point in life like I did where you don't need service for 12 anymore. Like service for 6 is
Yeah.
acceptable at this point.
Exactly. Good question and good tips. Does anyone else have tips or questions? Trying to think what else we didn't cover. I know we often will set up zones for clients, like a beverage station, for example. Do you two want to talk about zones a little bit?
I don't have the luxury of having zones. I have wherever it fits is where it goes. But in other people's homes, it definitely depends on the family. Beverage stations are very common where we'll set up, the cabinet with all the mugs, and the drawer underneath has the teas and coffees and things like that in your coffee maker. Some families, do tons of movie nights. So we set up like a movie station in their pantry where they have their popcorn maker and their boxes of candy and their cute little baskets. And I love doing stuff like that. it's hard for me to talk about zones because I don't have the luxury of having them. A huge kitchen is my dream.
Family is a big drinks. We have a whole beverage station. It's probably an 8-foot table in our dining room.
Nice.
We have people over at least once a week. So we always have drinks and tea. So the dining room is what made the most sense because we had the most space.
Yeah.
And we only use it when we entertain. So we have the tea hot water maker there, all the tea flavors, all the bottled drinks that get used during there. So if you have the space and like one of those more slightly infrequently used, but they get used when you entertain, I feel like those are really a great way to utilize.
I just realized one thing I didn't mention again to the small kitchen. I don't have room to store any food outside of my spices in there. So I got this really pretty teal cabinet that is in my dining room, which acts as my pantry. So if anybody has a teeny tiny kitchen, I feel for you. I can relate, and there are solutions.
There's hope.
There is hope.
We did get a question in the chat. Does either of you use a dish drainer?
Yes, I've got a dish drainer right now, and it's a double basin sink. So there's a dish drainer here. Here it is. I think it's actually collapsible, but I never collapse it. But and it's got little nodes coming up so that things don't tip over. But personally, I would rather have a double basin wide sink so I can put roasting pans in there without having it tip out, and just fill it when we're entertaining or we had a bunch of food, and all the pots and plates and everything can just go in there. I guess in that situation, I would have a dish drainer be on the counter.
I don't hand wash a lot of my dishes. Almost everything that I have goes into the dishwasher. So I just have a small drying mat on my counter. That's where like I'll put my little rack to dry my reusable Ziploc bags, skinny straws that'll fall through the basket in the dishwasher, little things like that. But yeah, it's about yay big, little drying mat, and that's all I need, really.
Nice. Another question. Connie writes, maybe I missed it, but where are the plates, cereal bowls, and cups?
Right here. So we were talking a little bit about beverage station. This is kind of my beverage station. We've got the espresso here, and this is a frother, and the various caffeinated and uncaffeinated pods. And conveniently, right above it is where the mugs are, but then everything else you just asked about. So going from the top to the bottom, we've got mugs and wine glasses, and then beverage glasses and soup bowls over here in the corner, which I love. And then below, plates, small plates, and then cereal bowls or soup bowl. Cereal bowls? I think whatever you call these. These smaller bowls are right here and stacked. And then we even have room for a bunch of stacked of these little Asian bowls. I don't know where they're from, but we have a lot of them. We use them for smaller things like appetizers. Ta-da! Oh, and wait, I can show you my other cabinet. Over here, we've got, this is kind of the everything else cabinet. So down here, this is the everything shelf, which has cheese graters and measuring cups and coffee, like commuter cups and things like that. And then above is all ramekins of different sizes, and then serving bowls. And then above that are larger serving bowls.
Thanks for that. I know you're a big fan of the ramekins. We have just a couple minutes left. I wanted to make some announcements. Thank you, Maddie, again so much for inviting us into your kitchen and pantry. And thank you, Jess, for being a co-host today. So our next Ask the Organizer will be the first Tuesday in July from 5 to 6 p.m. Again, at this new time. We're going to talk about the home office and paper. You know, paper is the bugaboo for many of our clients. So I hope that you'll come back and join us for that. We also have Right Sizing Rockstars, which is a free monthly accountability and support group and a judgment-free space for you to come talk about what organizing projects or right sizing, downsizing you're working on that month. And this month, it is the third Tuesday of June, and it's from 12 to 1 p.m. Starting in July, it's going to move to Mondays, so stay tuned for that. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us this evening. I hope that you learned something and that you got something out of this. And again, Maddie and Jess, thank you.